Hey, hi, thanks for joining me in this video. In our previous video, we have seen how to install Node.js using the Vagrant's provisioning concept. So within the Vagrant file, we have used the provisioning and we called up a shell script that had the installation guide for Node.js. So let me quickly pull it up and see and show it to you on how it looks. So this is the file, our shell script that essentially installs the Node.js, and that's called from our provisioning shell script within the Vagrant file. So the virtual environment that we got using this Vagrant file is the Ubuntu 2004, and then we tested few of the JavaScript commands and they ran successfully. So in today's video, we'll see how we can build an application, a bare minimum NodeJS server, and expose it from our Vagrant virtual machine back into the Windows machine on which is our host. So let's quickly see how we can do that. Let me pull in the terminal. So I am currently in my Windows machine, and that's how you can see it here. So let me quickly go to the place where we have this Vagrant file and the Vagrant machine. So cd documents, new disk, try Vagrant UV 2004. So this is the place where I have said to Vagrant, go create a Vagrant file. So if we see, we have a Vagrant file. Along with that, we have our bootstrap.sh file, which actually installed when called actually installed the Node.js. And then we have few folders. They are the place where we had our code written in the last video. So in the same way, let's Vagrant SSH into this. So this essentially helps us log into the virtual machine, which is the Ubuntu 2004, using the Vagrant command. It does take a few seconds, like 20-30 odd seconds, to get that up based on the time that has been sleeping or some other thing. In the meantime, let me pull up our folder that I have created in our environment. This has nothing but a package.json and index.json. It's a simple Node server that we're going to create. I have mentioned few of the dependencies. That's an express. Of course, NodeMon should be a dev dependency, but for this video, we are good to have it as a normal dependency. And let's see. Cool. We are inside our Vagrant box, and this file is sitting on our local machine. So if you want to see this, so pwd, so we are in our local Windows machine. However, in this terminal, we are inside our virtual machine that of Ubuntu, which is provisioned by Vagrant. So now I would cd into that folder where our code sits. So if you see, I have few folders. So I think this is in the test.js. Let me see. Yeah. Yes. So I'll get into the folder, and let's see what files we have. We have the same files as index and package.json. Let me do an npm install. That should create a node module folder and then a package.json file for us. All right. On the right side of the screen, we can see that it's getting created. We're good with it. So let's quickly jump into the folder where our code is, and let's define a start and give the property as nodemon index.js, comma, and this is how npm would spin up the node server. So if I now say npm start, it says nodemon is watching your file at this location, which is your development folder, and if you make any changes, it's going to capture. Now I have sample snippets that are ready that we can use it, because this is not a beginner file, but this is essentially a demo to see how we can access the node server, which is within the Vagrant's virtual machine, back into the host, which is our Windows machine. So if I do any change here, const express require express, nodemon should have kicked in and said, you know what, I have watched that, I have seen that you've changed something in your file, and let me rerun that. But it says it's still waiting for it. Now how do I know this? Like how do I tell nodemon that it has to observe these changes? This is a typical problem because we are running this within a virtual machine. So the easiest answer for this is put a -l and then save it and restart the server. Okay, let's stop it, clear the screen, restart the server, make some changes, probably a simple console.log should make things work for us. And it said that, okay, you wrote something, and you see I've captured it. So it just logged this yes, and it's waiting for changes again. So I have a simple snippet of a server that we can create and run. So this is completely that code. So what we have, a simple use strict statement, then we have imported express, then we have created variable that express that can use all the functions within the express. Then we have said please use express.json, and then the URL encoded. Now we don't have to use body parser because that's now inbuilt within the express. I'm exporting it at port 6301, and the app listens at port 6301. That's how we kind of know that this is coming here. And then we have couple of get statements, sorry, 3 of them indeed, and then 1 post. So if someone knocks at the door of the server at the root of it, it sends this information, which is here, this as an inline HTML that I wrote, which would be compiled by the browser and would render this whole text when we send it back. And then when someone lands at home of that API, it would throw this message back to the user, and then when I do a post, I'm reading from the body the first name and the last name, and I'm sending it back. We'll see it in practice. So let me quickly bring up the local host 6301, and they should throw an error for us, and it rightly throws an error. And the reason why is because this local host belongs to the Windows, but not to the virtual machine that's spun up on Vagrant. So what should I do? So this is what we have done in our previous video. So if we look at our Vagrant file, so after we said that our box is Ubuntu 2004, which is focal 64, we said that use a specific IP to expose everything that's within this host, within this guest back into the host, which is our Windows. So instead of localhost, now all that I have to do is grab this IP and put that here and say done. There you go, we have landed the root of the application. It says you are at the root of the cloud infrastructure management portal application. And then when I say I wanna go to home, it returns me home. There's also a params that I have, location /Hyderabad. It would read it from the params and then spit it back to the browser, which is the client. And then of course we have insomnia. So of course we have post, which we have to test it. I did test this a few hours back when I was planning to do this demo, so if that handy, let me pull up insomnia. Insomnia is just like Postman, but I got used to using insomnia for last 4-5 years now, and insomnia. So I'm trying to post to my Vagrant IP, and then at the endpoint users with first name and last name in the body, and it should return me full name is Ishwar Prasad, because this is what we are sending back. So how do I know if my NodeMon would capture changes when something breaks in my application, right? So for that, I was testing it, and that's where, say, you know what, let me send some chunk as an input. It should throw me an error. So it says unexpected token in the JSON position. So this would have thrown a syntax error on our application, and it's now captured that error now. But if I come back and say do something here, probably not here, but probably in the same post, console.log, retry, and save it. Now NodeMon should have captured and restarted the Node server for us. And now if I come back and hit the root of the application, it should still work for us. That's how we ensure that our application is accessible from our host, which is our Windows, and yet the code is executed on our virtual machine, which is our Ubuntu 2004 provisioned with Vagrant, and then the code sits again back in our Windows. So that's amazing, guys. Like, just look at it. One single configurable file, that's the Vagrant file, is all that you have to ship or give it to your friends to set up this essentially a dev environment. So that's pretty awesome. And then the whole node code can be pulled from your Git repository with just one Git clone, and we're done. Our dev environment is same across no matter how many developers we have and no matter where it is run. This essentially kills the idea of, or the problem of, saying that it works on my machine, and this is what it is. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you and catch up with you in the next video, where we'll do a similar practice for spinning up a React application, and we'll talk about the challenges there. Thank you. Have a great time.